Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another half hour of excitement because Crystal here knows what she's talking about. Stay tuned for more, everybody. Yeah, my slider's a little bit off over here, so I leaned into that. Here we go, everybody. All right, we're back in here talking another half hour. I told Crystal, I said, she's like, she gave me that look. Maybe I was misreading it, but she's like, 2.5 hours? I'm like, everybody wants that, I'm telling you, because there's so much good stuff you're going to talk about. Do you know your business? I know that she does. Obviously, she wouldn't be here. We don't invite people who don't know their business to be on the show. And I go, you'll have more than 2.5 hours, I promise. And so then we got through the first half hour. It seemed like in 7 minutes. Did it feel like almost went through in 7 minutes?
Yeah, it
went fast. An hour of setting everything up, everybody. It takes an hour, get all the bells and whistles, titles, everybody. Chit-chat a little bit, find out about the business owners because these are leaders in our community that are making a huge impact, and we want you to meet them. So that's why we bring them in here to talk about it. So with that, let's jump right in. We talked a little bit about with regard to, and I guess it ties into what I wanted to show on your website here, warranties and cost analysis, whether or not, and back into this whole issue with somebody has storm damage, and then they've got whether they make that claim or not. And I had to cut you off. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're at the end here. But talk about that real quickly if you'd like to, a little bit more. When somebody should make a claim, whether you, I mean, like I was saying, yeah, I'm going to just do it myself. No, call somebody to come out there first. Get an expert like yourselves out there. Then they can tell you, okay, yes, you definitely should. Or because if you call in and make a claim still can go against your account.
Correct.
Which can cause your rates to go up.
Yeah. So, talking about insurance and rates going up, like right now, I guarantee you every person that owns a home that's watching this right now has probably felt the impact of their insurance premiums rising.
Yeah.
And that's just due to the cost of construction materials. So, filing a claim unnecessarily, just because you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, I am guilty as charged. I always tell people just because you don't see a broken window doesn't mean that it's not damaged, right? So ignoring it and then waiting for a leak or, more relevant damage to take place, a storm happens, have somebody come and look at it.
I'll tell you a personal example that I've seen, and that was a piece of siding had been removed. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't look like that's big of a deal because, it's just a little piece that's behind the fire pit or whatever, and nobody notices it. But then over time, water keeps hitting that without that protection from that little strip.
Yeah.
And then that wood starts to fail.
Yep.
And then a deck may start to pull away from a house. I'm not going to say anything in particular, but literally, but lucky I have people that are connected that know how to help fix these things. And otherwise, but that's just because you didn't see the shingle that was flipped up. And so when the wind comes in, right, and that rain comes in there because the shingle got blown up the first time, but it didn't get nailed back down, you're going to have these kinds of problems, and you don't think you have any problems.
Yeah. I mean, it's the unseen, right? But that problem, it could be a blown up shingle that really that's all you have is one shingle, right? Like you could see that, and there's no reason to file a claim. Just have a repair done, right? It's cheaper. You don't have the claim on your insurance policy. Or it could be what you don't see that ends up showing up on your ceiling in 6 months because, you couldn't see it. You didn't know it was there.
You get those pretty, like, little cloud-looking outlines in a brown color on the white ceiling. They're like, what is that? Oh, somebody drawing clouds on my... No, it's water drip down there and started to go through. Let that keep happening. And the problem, what's much worse is what's above that.
Correct.
If you get into your insulation and then what all goes wrong with the roof up there before that could cause something like that to happen.
Well, just to circle back real quick, you said, at what point should you file claim? And the answer is only after it's been inspected by a professional.
Don't just go randomly, hey, I think there's some damage for sure.
Yeah.
And they even noticed it. And I got somebody that told me that.
Yeah.
But still, you talk about whether it's worth doing that.
Exactly.
Deductibles and all those kinds of things.
Exactly. Deductibles are changing. Insurance premiums are going up. Excessive claims on your policy could cause your policy to be canceled. So, we're never here intended to scare someone from taking care of what's damaged. We just want to make sure that we educate our customers on what the right path is. If it's making a repair that doesn't exceed deductibles, if it requires filing a claim, and if it does, like knowing exactly what's damaged. So that's what's most important.
I understand, and somebody mentioned this to me. Somebody told me this is true. if you don't get something repaired and you think it's just a little thing, but water's still getting underneath there. Once it gets into where the actual plywood is starting to be damaged, that potentially could be not covered because they're saying that's a structural issue. That's not a roof issue. Okay, it's a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
You didn't properly maintain it, and you just thought it was some little thing because you didn't notice it or it didn't crash through your your bedroom.
Not all damage is as obvious as like a broken skylight or, missing shingles. Sometimes it's the flashing collars that have worn out over time, or it is, damaged from a storm that you can't see. So, having a roof inspected once a year is obviously recommended. Most people don't think about maintenance to their roof, and that's probably the number one call that we actually get is from where people are like, the roof is leaking. And it's like, well, when's the last time someone was up there and took a look at it? And they're like, probably never, and it's not because you just don't know what you don't know. And most people they don't even know what color the roof is. Like, we had a sportscaster that actually, we did his roof years ago, and we're like, okay, well, he's like, just put the same color up there that I had before. And I'm like, you want to go back with a green roof? He's like, oh. He's like, I didn't even know what color my roof was, right? So most people don't look up and go, until after they have to do something. Then, of course, they're picking shingle colors out and they know what color it is. But they're not thinking about what's above their head, even though that is the one thing that protects their biggest asset, which is their home and their family.
Shout out to my sportscasting buddies, right? We don't pay attention to that kind of stuff, okay? Like, I'm worried about whether it's a strike or a ball or my team won or lost or was it a big play or we won the World Series. I don't care what the color of my roof was. Now, it may have been green, but it looks darker than that because you get that algae on there many times too. And is that something to worry about, or what does that play into this? Is that aging? Is that not maintenance?
Yes.
Algae doesn't necessarily cause a roof to fail, but
no.
One of those things that cause somebody like he didn't know the color of his roof. But
right. So algae will not cause your roof to fail.
Right.
It doesn't look very pretty, but they do put zinc, which is the algae-resistant granules inside of the shingles. Typically, those will last for about 10 to 15 years, and then that's when you start seeing streaking in the shingles and discoloration. So your roof, as long as it's properly ventilated, you have the right pipe boot flashings, like as long as everything that is the accessories to the roof is in good working order, the streaking is not going to be an issue. It's just over time, has it aged out or is it not flashed correctly anymore? Because, a lot of our stuff's petroleum based, so you go and put a collar on a pipe and it's rubber, it's going to crack over time.
Okay, and she said a word there that like always get streaking. Not, we're not talking about baseball guys running across the with like, you know what I'm talking about. We're not even talking about. We're talking about literally where they have streaks. Not people. All baseball guys. We're thinking streaking. That's just going to get somebody in jail tonight. No, but we're talking. I've had people tell me, "Cowboy, did you see me run across the field during the Cardinal game?" I'm like, that was terrible. Never do it again. But I got 50,000 views on it, so thank you very much. Don't do that, everybody. You'll end up in jail. The Cardinals, and you deserve it because you're disrupting a big event with lots of money being spent by lots of big companies and a lot of sponsors, and a lot of good comes out of that.
Right.
Don't run across the field, streaking, especially. But when you have a roof that has streaks, because it's not that somebody was streaking across the roof, but streaks, they're coming across there because it's just literally algae and nobody ever mentioned this before. I've been doing this show for a long time now. We've had a couple other roofing guys on here, and we always talk about different stuff. Not that they don't know what they're talking about, but it's just a matter of we didn't talk about that. And so when you get zinc is part of that. I thought zinc was like, it's a metal, but it's also, so you need zinc in your system because it helps your immune system, but it stops algae.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why you bring in experts here, everybody.
Yeah, algae-resistant shingles.
Okay. And they're not all that way? Not just some
They
of them?
are now.
Almost every one of them has a little bit of zinc in there.
I would say that most of what's on the market today is algae-resistant. Years ago, that was not the case. You had to, upgrade your shingle. But the shingles have gotten pretty amazing. You got wind resistancies, 130, 140 mile per hour, and the algae resistant comes on every one. So the shingles are pretty amazing these days. And obviously there's more than just an asphalt roof. There's plenty of other types, but asphalt seems to be the primary product that everyone installs here in St. Louis. And
that's your typical, it comes in squares. How do we, who's your favorite? Do you have a particular manufacturer you guys prefer?
We're a certified contractor with GAF.
Okay.
So GAF is one of the world's largest shingle manufacturers.
Yes.
We've actually, we've we don't recommend any other shingle unless someone comes to us and says it's usually a color preference, right? Like most people don't know all the shingles that are out there until they look and go, I like that color. You know, we talk about people not knowing what color the roof is until they have to pick it, and then it's important. So GAF is who we use. They back us on amazing warranties. So every install that we install for our customers gets what's called a System Plus, which is an additional warranty outside of the standard manufacturer warranty. So every single roof we install gets that. It allows for non-prorated on the shingles, 25 years, full system if there's a manufacturer defect. So a manufacturer defect typically is going to be excessive granule loss, excessive blistering, you know.
Okay, so these are real things that do happen. It's just like, oh yeah, it doesn't ever fail, so they're not going to pay this out. But
sealants fail.
But if there's an excessive amount of wind, or what is it that causes granules to come off? It's I guess it's. I was talking to somebody, and it's just if they get tampered with, the granules will still be there, but over time they wear off. Then I guess ultimately, if they just got hit by something. And then what was it? Did they argue about, well, it was a tree branch that came across?
Yep.
I mean, a number of things that could cause that. But hey, it's covered.
Yeah.
Sorry, they didn't expect that, but it does happen.
Yeah.
So it's covered, and you don't have to worry about it. Full replacement, not a, what'd you call that?
Prorated.
Prorated, that's right. Oh, none of us like prorated, right? You know, there's being a pro, and then there's like everybody wants to get rated well, but you don't want prorated. Because that means they just took a portion of whatever and said, oh, we're going to give you the pro rate.
Yeah.
Meaning give you 50% of what it was.
Yeah, standard manufacturer warranty only covers the shingles up to 5 years, 100%. So all the extras that you have, nails, underlayment, flashings, those aren't covered on a standard warranty. And at 5 years, they start prorating just the shingles. So when they say limited lifetime or, you know, standard 30-year is what it used to be. Now it's limited lifetime. You know, it's prorated at 5. So we put the extra warranty for 25 years. That won't happen if it's a manufacturer defect. So you have 3 things that are going to happen. You're either going to have a weather event, you're going to have a manufacturer defect, or you're going to have an installation error. With the installation error, we offer a 10-year labor warranty, which is also backed by GAF. So we cover it, standard 2-year labor warranty, and then GAF picks it up for an additional 8 years. So obviously that is a little bit of an upgrade, but manufacturer warranties are included in every install. And peace of mind shouldn't cost much. You know, it's basically if you went to go get a Starbucks coffee every single day for the next month, you'd be paying less than that for a 10-year peace of mind warranty on your roof.
Well, if it's all right with you, I'm going to bring up GAF's website to give a little support for you guys. If you just do a search, I'll just do the Google search real quickly. Yes. GAF official site. It's thinking. My computer's very busy with everything we're doing. Producing a TV show while we're doing this, right?
So Silver Pledge is the warranty with the 10-year. So that does cover the labor for an installation error, and then also covers the shingles, like the System Plus that we just spoke about.
This young lady knows what she's talking about. These are important things. I mean, I didn't realize all these discussions I've had with my buddies, and we get into construction and roofing. 5 years? What? Mm-hmm. That doesn't have anything to do with the insurance company. Mm. That is strictly the manufacturer saying, wonderful, but because you did this whatever way, not by having certified installation by a certified installer.
Correct.
Not covered unless you do it.
Yep.
And then you get it because you are GIF certified. Is that what it is? That's important, everybody, because you don't want to end up spending, hey, I got my roof's going to be covered by my insurance company. Except it's not. Maybe. I mean, would the insurance company still cover that?
No.
They're still going to say, no, sorry.
Yeah, if it's not a weather-related event or something that's inside of policy provisions, they won't cover it. So if it's a manufacturer defect, then you're on your own.
Okay, we don't want to end up in that boat, right? But check those guys out, GAF. I know them. I know the reps personally. Nick, you deal with Nick. You talk to Nick. Nick's awesome, and he has me come out to their events and stuff, and he gives me ambush tickets every once in a while. I give him Cardinal tickets. But Nick is a great guy, and so thank you, GAF, and thank you all the guys there, because they are a great company that does a great product, and they stand by their product, and so 100%. You made a great choice there, so I appreciate that. And so get a hold of here. I'm going to put back up who we're talking about here. I'm going to give a quick tour of the website, everybody, because they do have lots of good, with regard to the warranties we were talking about there, that's an important piece, and they have a dedicated page on their website for this. But if you want to get a hold of them, fill out the form. I mean, we'll talk about maybe you guys can put that video right over here of our little chat, because you got so much information to share with people. We'll talk about that. But let's see, we're going to go here too. It was about warranties. Am I what am I going to find here? GAF, there it is, Silver Pledge. That's what we were talking about. I should have gone to that page. You've got a page all about GAF on your website and residential certified roofing. And so I'm able to offer you better protection. And that's what you're talking about. So if you missed everything that Crystal said here, first off, rewind it. It's going to be, you're probably going to watch this show after it aired on ABC. If not, then go over here and check it out. Only 3% of GAF certified contractors are entrusted to offer the Silver Pledge limited warranty. Wow, so there's even other people that will put on GAF, but unless they're getting it through somebody who's at 3%, which you guys are,
Yeah.
they got other things to worry about.
Yeah, anybody can buy the GAF shingles, any contractor, but GAF actually vets their contractors to ensure that they are fully licensed, insured, that they meet GAF's standard of quality for a contractor. So it does take a little bit of work to be part of their program.
Okay, so my next question is, what is the one thing that sets your business apart? I think we just covered all that, maybe, right? That's important stuff that really does set you apart in a number of ways for a big financial, not just like, oh, I like the flavor different. Like,
right.
It's not just about, hey, this roofing company versus that roofing company. It's like, this is what's going to be covered versus this is what's not going to be covered. And that can end up being on a roof, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 out of pocket if it's not done the right way.
You asked about cost earlier, with building materials on the rise, the last thing that you want to do is cut a corner or have a contractor that's cutting a corner.
Right.
If we're all installing it the same way, then the cost should be pretty darn close for every contractor. So if you go and get 3 bids, they should be pretty darn close, right? Because we're all putting the same products on. But what happens is you start comparing apples to oranges, and people are like, well, I can get it cheaper here. Well, but if you're not comparing what you're getting, it's kind of like buying a Kia Soul versus, a Volkswagen, right? Like they're two totally different vehicles. They're both good quality, but you're getting a very different car. So, it's just knowing what you're buying and, are you getting proper underlayments? So there's new products called synthetic underlayment. Most people are used to like black felt paper, which is tar paper. The synthetic offers much more protection, and we put that on every single roof. If you have shingles blow off, it's going to give you, down in Florida, they put that on and they'll leave a roof open waiting for an inspection for 6 weeks. So if you have a section of shingles blow off, you're protected. But felt paper starts disintegrating over time when it gets wet.
Yes. Synthetic stuff that they've got is just more durable, lasts longer, protects better.
Yep.
And I've heard of that before. Now say it again so everybody knows what that's.
Synthetic underlayment.
Synthetic underlayment, everybody.
An education in roofing today.
Write it down. You need to make notes here. If you don't have every note taken that you can remember everything, rewind this or call 314-292-9331 or go to Prrotect roofing.com.
Yes.
Double R in there, everybody. 2 R's, not 5. Not 4, not 3, not 1, but 2. Make sure you get that. All right. Well, again, while we'll have to emphasize the experts that are making. I mean, these are things that like literally people are like, oh, just going to call any roofing company. Again, if anybody could put on a roof, not quite. You better make sure you got somebody else. You've been doing this for so long with such great high ratings. Thank you. She's making us look good. That's why we do that, everybody. Her and her husband. Give him credit too. There he is up on the roof. I'll show you. Let me get back there a little bit. That's your Facebook page there, right?
Yeah.
And so. That is your husband doing work. He gets up on the ladder.
Tim West gets on the ladder.
And then lots of information here on their Facebook page.
Hey, there he's saving a turtle.
There it is, saving turtles.
We don't just help the community, we help all members of the community.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I'll tell you a quick story about turtles. I had my dogs. I had 2 Labrador Huskies, big dogs, and they're in the backyard. I had bought a big house or a bigger backyard, and they're down at the bottom of the hill, and he comes up with something in his mouth. I'm like, he had this turtle in his mouth. I yanked it out of his mouth. Took my life in my hands for this turtle. It's my dog. He probably wasn't going to bite me. But yeah, thank you. Good job there. Your husband's doing good work. Good guy. All right. Well, make sure you take care of our country and our animals at the same time. So, all right. As we try to get through here, we're up to 19 minutes again already. What's the biggest mistake somebody makes when they're thinking about getting this done? I might have covered that too, but I mean, what do you think if you had to summarize for somebody? Biggest mistake somebody says, got a roof problem. What mistake did they make?
Oh my goodness, biggest mistake.
Is it calling it insurance company themselves? Is it trying to do it themselves with somebody who they don't know is certified?
I mean, obviously it's not a DIY project. Maybe that's, you know, it's
Right.
you're up in the air, and you know, it can be dangerous, especially the steeper the roof. Depending on what part of town you're in, you go down in the city. Like, I'm not even getting on those. Tim will. I won't.
Get them drones out there a little bit, fly around. And
Yeah.
maybe, so you do that some of that time?
We do some of that, yeah.
But it's just the drones do a great job, except when you really got to pick something up and look
Yeah.
underneath it, the drone doesn't quite pick things up. It'll
Yeah.
get close.
When it's a no-brainer, right? Like, it's easy. We sometimes will use that for large projects just to get a quick aerial view on something. But for the most part, I would just say, you know, the biggest mistake is either trying to fix it yourself, which is dangerous, or not calling a true professional and vetting your contractor. So, you know, just hiring someone that, you know, knocked on your door, or, you know, I would take a referral or read reviews, like knowing who you're hiring.
Or go watch their interview on ABC for a half hour. There's only a few people that get to be on our show, everybody, because we pick them very carefully. And we just want to put the people on because we think you deserve. I mean, if there's thing, here's my mantra, if you will, but help the small business owners, because they do a better job than the big guys. I hate to say it like that, but sorry, it's a true fact, because the owner is doing the work, right? You get somebody else that's a big national company that has, you know, every single state. Okay, maybe they're doing a great job, but you better hold their feet to the fire and pay attention, because if they don't have the owner or somebody that they've personally trained, good. You get to stay. If you've got 10 or 12 locations, they can still kind of get their hands in there. Maybe that's a big station, but you get these national companies. I don't know how much in the roofing space they really have that, but I just know about when you get, I won't say any specific industries, but I'm gonna say if you have a plumbing issue, for instance, and they're gonna clean out your drain. I've got lots of the guys who they talk about, there's this big national roto, I won't even say the rest, and it's just like, and they probably have been trained very well for 3 to 4 weeks, right, to come in there and do this. But if they're not, and likewise, it's just, you got to have your expertise. You better know what you're doing, because you've talked about a lot of things that are big issues here. And if you don't deal with things like you're talking about, a 5-year warranty, I didn't know that. I thought everything you get the what? How do I only get a 5-year warranty? Because they didn't have it done properly by a certified installation.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Good stuff. See my head just explosion. It's true. Crystal knows what she's talking about. That's why I was excited when she told me she had another really successful business, and said we could retire, and she's like 28 years old, ready to retire here.
Thanks.
Somewhere in that ballpark, I'm guessing. Good job. On the website, though, I wanted to share, go over that just a brief second here before, because there is so much more other information out there for people. But bottom line is, if people want to get started with you, it's as easy as just calling that phone number right up here, right? Or I thought, let's go back to the home page, fill out that form on the front page, and that'll go right to you. They fill this out, it goes into some kind of a system you've got for that.
Yep, absolutely.
And then you start going from there, and everybody can get everything they need.
Yep, name, phone number, information on what you're looking for. We also do, you'll see there at the top where it says build your own estimate now. We can give a preliminary estimate in about 60 seconds. So if someone's just trying to get an idea of what a roof would cost, they can go in and put their address and ask a few questions, and then it'll spit out. Again, it's not 100%, but it at least gets you in the ballpark of knowing, what does it cost for a new roof? Most people don't have an idea, and if I wasn't in the industry, I wouldn't know either. So
yeah, I was gonna say, does that get back into, well, there was proven storms in your area?
Well, it's more along the lines of, I'm trying to budget, and I would like to know what it's going to cost. You asked earlier, what does it cost for a new roof? You put in your address. It does an aerial view, so it captures a picture of your house, and then it gives you preliminary. So it gives you a ballpark range of what it would cost for a new roof, especially if you're paying out of pocket. We do have low monthly payment options. So, if it's something that's not storm related and you need to replace your roof, most people, I don't want to, right? I don't want to replace my roof, but if it's old and it needs to be done, then, what are my options and how much is it going to cost?
Yeah, you might make the argument that you replace your roof before you replace your car. If you got a car that's functioning, if it's not functioning, period. But if you have a roof that's kind of beat up, or you have a car that's kind of beat up, if that car's getting me to work, I better get the roof fixed first.
Right.
Because it's going to depreciate the value of my biggest asset. Or if I'm renting even, I'll get that whole mess. But just make sure you're taking care of this place, because if you have something come down, ruins everything inside of your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, hope you made it to work, but better have this stuff covered, more important. Okay, we're talking about big issues here. We're going to save the world, but this is stuff you should be paying attention to. But you do talk about, you do residential and commercial.
Correct.
So tell me about the commercial side a little bit.
So we work with apartment complexes, warehouse buildings, so anything that has flat roofing system. TPO is typically what people are installing these days.
Do you know what that stands for, TPO?
You put me on the spot. Thermoplastic something.
Okay, I just have heard that name. I was like, what is a TPO? But it's a new technology, really.
Yes.
When the roof is done.
See, you got me on the one thing that I don't know 100%.
Well, you got the core words, thermal plastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and then operations or whatever it is. But
Tim handles a lot of the commercial roofing. I again, ops. I started in the industry with more residential, so he's really picked up on the commercial side of things. So that's a Tim question.
Well, and if anybody gets that far into it, they've already been talking
Yeah.
to you, so it's not that big of an issue. But literally, I mean, there's the point is you're staying on cutting edge with some of the newest technologies
Yeah.
out there too.
Absolutely. Having a good installer for commercial roofing is extremely important as well. Flat roofs can leak, and it is for property managers probably one of the biggest headaches that they have, because again, we go back to having tenants that has a roof leaking. Is that tenant unhappy? Are they able to stay in their unit? So we do a lot of work with the apartment complexes.
Well, I'm trying to look at thermoplastic polyolo something. Okay, poly, which is I think what they're saying, plastic related.
Yeah.
Something. Let them fix it for you. You don't even need. Just know it's TPO, and that'll get you there. And
That's
do it
the
right.
white roof. Everybody says, "What's the white roof?"
Yeah, well, I saw a picture of
TPO.
that recently, and it like can you put it right on top of the old metal roof so that you don't have to tear off as much? Or how do they do that?
So typically you wouldn't want to go over with flat roofing systems.
Okay.
If there's moisture underneath, you
Yeah.
can't go over it. There are some instances that you can make repairs. Again, our goal is it repairable or does it need to be replaced? Like being able to evaluate. Roofing's expensive. It doesn't matter if it's commercial property or residential, right? We want to make sure that we get the most amount of time out of that roof that we can for you, and
Something you don't want to have to go back and do again because you said, hey, just slap it on top of it, and now you got to tear the whole thing out
Exactly.
and do a redo.
yeah.
Redos are bad, everybody. Don't do redos. Do it right the first
first
time.
time.
We make it right every single time. P-R-O-O-T roofing. All right, finishing up here. We got a minute or two left. If you do want to learn more about what we do with regard to helping your businesses, check it out. Magnetize Media, everybody. Yes, yours truly wrote the foreword for this #1 selling book on Amazon. Magnetize. It's actually got details about how you do it. I've actually read the book, and I wrote the foreword for this because I talk about how, and he said, essentially, Carter, you wrote the first chapter. I'm like, yeah, but it's all about, this is so important for people these days. You have to take advantage of this new media because it used to be like Yellow Pages, TV, radio. That was pretty much billboards, right? Print. And now it's like, if you don't do something on media, social media, websites, all that stuff, you will be out of business. And I talk about the people who are doing it well, and you see people like this. Crystal and her husband are doing it well. They've taken care of it, make sure their reviews are kept up on. The website looks great, and I think this video will look great on your website too. So you guys know what you're doing there. All right, as we finish up here, and we're actually over by a few seconds, everybody. Thank you for tuning in more. We will stay tuned for more. I'm going to do a little quick editing out of this one. Things I need to edit, you let me know because we've already gone over. So I have to edit either way to make it fit on the 28 minutes, 30 seconds on ABC. But with that, let's go with one quick last question I had for you. Tell me a time when you felt like you really helped a client. And you got a charity stuff that you do too, because you talked a little about that. There's a bunch of times you had somebody, maybe the first show we talked about it.
Yeah.
You paid for a roof for somebody. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've done a couple of roofs for some people. Honestly, my favorite one was actually interior. I still think about her all the time, but she had multiple sclerosis and wasn't able to get to her basement with her wheelchair. So we retrofitted a closet and put a washer and dryer in, and made the door a pocket door so she could get her wheelchair and shut the door while she was taking a shower or a bath. So that was probably my most memorable. And then we've done a roof for a military family that the gentleman was injured while he was out of the country, and they had bought a house as a rehab And when he came back, they couldn't make the necessary repairs that they needed to. So
Experts making a difference here in our little plant
Yeah.
to help make it a better place, not just for the money, because the money, well, they say do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
yep,
And because you will have the money to do things, because you're getting paid for what you do. If you
Right.
do. And everybody deserves to get paid, but do what you love, and then the rest of it comes to you.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Crystal.
you're welcome.
All right, we'll be back, everybody. Giddy up. This is the Your Little Castle Show.